Okay, fine. So let's start the event and give floor to this wonderful talk show. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this talk show on artificial intelligence, or say AI. I'd like to start by thanking the DeepLearning.AI community. DeepLearning.AI is an education technology company that is empowering the global workforce to build an AI-powered future through world-class education, hands-on training, and a collaborative community. I hope all is well with you and you're able to maintain health and positivity in these trying times. It is such trying times that historically have helped communities to come together to address common challenges and prepare for the future. My name is Kushagra Gupta, currently working as an AI ambassador for DeepLearning.AI and the leading face of Pi and AI Jaipur. With utmost dedication and collaboration, I hope to make Pi and AI among the leading communities of Rajasthan. And it is a pleasure for me to host such an incredible panel, Mr. Anudeep, Ms. Smriti, and Mr. Karthik, two professionals and an undergraduate. What more crisp is needed to make this talk show an interesting one? You all have it here. So let's give floor to the talk show. At starting, I'll be playing a message sent to us by the founder of DeepLearning.AI. So let's see what he has for us. Can I have the video, please? Just a second. Okay.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew Ng, founder of DeepLearning.AI, and I'm excited to welcome you to our global deep learning community. I know that many of you are here today because you want to break into AI and build your career. I hope that being part of this community will help you to do so. To give you a proper welcome, I'd like to show you around the DeepLearning.AI offices and meet some of the teams so they can see where it all happens.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Do you want to tell our friends at Pine AI what you do at DeepLearning.AI?
Sure. I make articles and other media that help people learn about AI and help them understand the huge impact that AI is having in the world. Today, I'm putting together the next issue of The Batch, our weekly newsletter, and I'm looking for the biggest stories of the week to keep our readers informed.
What's been the most surprising thing you've run into working on The Batch?
How much is going on in this field? There is never a dull moment. You might think from the outside that machine learning engineers really understand everything about AI, but nobody understands everything about AI because this field is just coming to life right before my eyes as I put this thing together every week.
All right, I know you're really busy, so I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks. See you later.
Let's go meet Kian, who helped me create the deep learning specialization. He's working on an exciting new project. Hey Kian, so do you want to tell the people at Pine AI what you're working on?
Yes, sure. I'm leading a project called Workera, focusing on helping people get offers in AI and navigating their career by testing their skills, preparing for interviews and certifying them, as well as matching and referring them to good jobs in AI.
That's really cool. And what's the most exciting part of your day?
You know, the AI field is new, organizations and jobs are still misunderstood. So I'm excited to help people understand what different types of jobs exist in the field, what tasks they will work on, and what skills are needed to achieve those tasks.
And that's really important work. Well, it's nice chatting. And now let's go chat to Hotel, who is on their product team.
Hey, Andrew.
Do you want to say hi to our friends at Pine AI and let them know what you're working on?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I lead the product team in DeepLearning.AI, where we create AI education content accessible to people all around the world. People like you.
And what are you most excited about right now?
I am so excited to see our community grow and to see how eager people are to learn more about AI.
Thanks, also.
Thanks, Andrew.
So as you can see, our team is working hard to support you and help you learn. It's never been easier than before to break into AI. So if you want to build a career, you can leverage online resources available, including open source code, datasets, papers, and online courses like a deep learning specialization on Coursera. As part of this journey, I hope you get your hands dirty too. Don't be afraid of diving in to build your own project, or go ahead and try to replicate a research paper that you're excited about. One thing that I've seen help a lot of people succeed is if you can build a community or find a community of fellow deep learners you can meet with and study with on a regular basis. In fact, I hope that this Pine AI meetup that you're at right now will be a good place for you to meet these people. I hope you enjoyed the event today and that you learn a lot, both from the talks and from each other. And once again, welcome to the DeepLearning.AI community.
So I guess that was, am I audible, Piyush?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So I think that was such a lovely office and community walkthrough that we got through the founder of DeepLearning.AI. So let's begin to the main event which our audience awaits. The idea basically of this event is to make it a power-packed discussion so that the viewers go back inspired and armed with your suggestions to take on the brilliant task of being brilliant at what they do. So let me begin with the introduction of the speakers or panelists. Let us start with Smriti Mishra. Smriti is on a mission to battle the climate crisis and work towards 7 of the Sustainable Development Goals using her knowledge and experience in artificial intelligence. She believes AI, if used cautiously, can improve and support a lot of businesses' sustainable development. And she wishes to encourage with her words, articles, posts, talks, etc. She's also very vocal and active in the community to fight the stigma surrounding mental health. She also thinks if AI used cautiously, it can definitely reduce the stigma around mental health. She is currently working as an head of artificial intelligence at Earthbank, based in Stockholm, Sweden. Earthbank is the world's first carbon and ECG reporting provider that delivers sustainable finance AI advisory products and services to banks, financial institutions, and asset managers with a high degree of confidence propagation with Bayesian neural networks. As the head of artificial intelligence at Earthbank, her roles include implementing artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques for remote sensing for verification of carbon sequestration. Smriti is also the facilitator for Sweden for the Global Mental Wellness Society, which is a mind-focused coaching. She's also a content curation and community engagement lead at the Airplane Alliance. She's also a founding member of AI Guild. She's also been a part of renowned institutions of India like IISc and ISRO as a research intern, and also been a researcher at Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm, Sweden. Thank you so much, Smriti, for taking your time, and it is a pleasure to have you on board with us today for this talk show. Now, also, we'll be posting the details of our panelists in the chat box. You all can have a look at that and stay connected with them. Thank you. So next we have Anudeep. Anudeep is working on driving data towards insights, thus helping many organizations to take informed decisions using unified data analytics. Anudeep is currently working as technical lead at Capgemini. As a technical lead, his technological stack focuses upon insights and data and cloud data platform. Capgemini is a global leader in consulting, digital transformation, technology, and engineering services. The group is at the forefront of innovation to address the entire breadth of clients' opportunities in the evolving world of cloud, digital, and platforms. Anudeep is also the AI mentor and technical content writer at Great Learning. He is the mentor for post-graduation program in artificial intelligence and machine learning from University of Texas at Austin, impacting 82 learners with an average rating of 4.77 on the scale of 5. Sir Anudeep has delivered 9 lectures on artificial intelligence and cloud computing at various international platforms globally. He has also been a big data developer at Gainsight Solutions, a programmer analyst at Cognizant. He has recently completed his post-graduation in big data and machine learning from Illinois Tech Stewart School of Businesses, based in Chicago. We wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for making your time to this event. Also, the details of Anudeep is posted in the chat box. You can all can have a look. And also we have P. Karthik. Karthik is a smart worker and a good leader, an open door for opportunities. He has a never give up attitude. which makes him achieve the goals. He is a tech undergraduate at VIT University, Chennai. He is majorly learning and developing his skills in computer vision and deep learning. He has been a part of organizations including Microsoft as a student ambassador, SPIE International Student Chapter, IEEE Computer Science Society. He has worked as junior machine learning engineer at Omdena, where he contributed to mapping illegal dump sites using artificial intelligence along with 50 other collaborators across the world. Currently, he is working as an AI research intern at Tata Consultancy Services, which is one of India's leading IT services, consulting and business solutions organization. We welcome you, Karthik. Thank you so much for being a part of Pi in AI. Also, the details of Karthik has been put in the chat box. You can have a look. So now let's get to the main part of this talk show and make it a very insightful and magnificent one. Welcome everyone. So we'll be going through a particular flow that I'll be posing the questions to the panelists, and one by one they'll be sharing their views and adding their comments on that question. So let us start the talk show. My first question is to Smriti. I'll ask to Smriti, and then Anudeep and Karthik can add on after Smriti ends. So we have a lot of young enthusiasts who have graduated in the COVID years of 2020 and after. And a crucial question that they have is, what do employers want to see and specifically don't want to see in a portfolio or resume of an AI enthusiast, or say a data science or deep learning enthusiast or an engineer during an interview? And what pathway they should actually follow to build their careers in this domain? Over to you, Smriti.
So thank you for having me, first of all. And that's like a very subjective question, I would say. There's no right answer to that, to be honest. But when you broadly mention like AI engineer, again, it can be a lot of different roles, right? It could be a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, a data engineer. So it basically depends a little bit on that as well. Overall, if you know like the basic machine learning, deep learning algorithms, like the 8 to 10 algorithms that usually are employed, if you have worked on those earlier, that's like a good start. And other than that, I would say that when I hire someone, I look at the attitude of the person, because basically, as also said in the interview, no one knows everything or no one knows even a little about AI. It's just that you learn every day and you implement it. So the attitude of learning is very important. And then based on what side you're leaning towards, like is it more of a data scientist position or more of a data engineer position, it depends how much coding you should know. So if you want to go towards a data scientist position or anything similar, I'll just group it into two for now. So if you want to go towards a data scientist position, which includes like data scientist, ML engineer, all those things, in that case, your strongest suit needs to be machine learning or deep learning, and you should know coding, but that's like not the most essential thing. Then again, you have this data engineer side where you work more on like building infrastructure using the algorithms. In that case, you need to be like top notch with coding, especially like at least one language, but like extremely awesome with it. And then you need to have a knowledge, of course, of like ML algorithms or deep learning algorithms, but the strongest suit needs to be coding. So this is what like H&M people told me, and this is like a broad description. It may differ company to company, but that's like how mostly things work. So to sum it up, I would say that a learning attitude, obviously knowing at least the basic algorithms really well and understanding them, because if you can like implement SVM, you can implement PCA also. Like, so you need to like have a basic good understanding of those algorithms, and then coding at least in one language, preferably Python or R, but I would stick with Python. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you, thank you. So that was all Smriti's views on that question. So now I'd like to hand over the mic to Anudeep.
Yeah. Hey, hello everyone. Good evening. I'll add to the points what Smriti had said. She had nicely covered about the attitude part and the programming and algorithms that one has to learn. I'll just add, coming from start of your question, right? It doesn't matter whether you are pre-COVID or COVID or post-COVID. The, Tell me very honestly, none of you must have heard, I mean, sit in the class and listen to the lectures completely. Okay. So it's not like online classes or offline classes. It doesn't matter basically. What matters is the time you spend when you are alone, right? You sit with the subject that you like. Say, suppose, let's say we are talking about A, and just because of the buzzwords that are happening, you just wanted to understand what it is. So let's say a student want to understand what it is. So how do you spend your time, manage your time, is what a recruiter would see. So he would ask you basically, what did you do during this time? See, it's lockdown, right? How did you utilize your time when you are at home, apart from attending online classes, right? So that, I think, you have to reflect in your portfolio. Now the question comes, how do you reflect that in a portfolio, Anudeep? How do you reflect that is by not just learning and programming, but by actually building something, right? So how do I build something? You need not build some big websites or applications, right? But you can go to kaggle.com, apply, use the data sets that are there, and apply your knowledge that you have gained through different blogs that you have read about the algorithms, right? So how many competitions you can compete? See, participation is very important. It's not about winning a competition or something. So like that, each step you take and each step you speak matters in an interview or to anyone for that matter. Also, one more thing is that suppose, let's say you failed in everything, as in you failed to listen to classes, you failed to participate in some competition, and you have nothing but you went to the interview. Then what matters is like what panelist Smriti had said, your attitude. So they would ask you questions on analytical questions like, see, your college is there, and you have to save some money for your college, right? So you have some 10,000 people in the Jaipur city, and you have 5 buses. How do you optimize the cost for your college? Is what such kind of questions they'll ask. Now, see, it's not about coding, it's not about CSE that you have learned. It's just an analytical thought on how do you communicate your thought process to them, right? So your communication skills matter. Your time management matters, right? So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Anudeep. I'd like to move forward discussion to Karthik. I guess Karthik is not here. He's having some technical issues right now. So he'll be joining us shortly. So until now, Karthik is here. Hello, Karthik.
So hi Kushagra. I would also
Yes,
like
yes,
to
yes.
add on what
Yeah, definitely you can
yeah.
go on.
So yeah, I also agree with the competitive coding part. But in my opinion, when you're in your undergrad, and if you're not that good with your coding, you may not have the confidence to go for competitive coding. So in that case, you can just start by like when you do some Coursera course, you can just put that project on a GitHub account, and those things also matter a lot. So you can probably start there and then proceed towards competitive coding if you find yourself like interested in that. First of all, AI is just like so many people don't understand it and just want to do it because it's AI, and that should not be the case because the work is very rigorous, and if you don't like it, it's going to be horrible. So it's important to like try things out. And again, in AI there are like 100 jobs, 100 types of jobs, so you need to figure out what you're interested in. And yeah, so that's extremely important, and that the only way to do it is by trying it out and by actually working on it. So do those small things, like tiny projects which like won't occupy, like which will probably just occupy a weekend and you'll be there. So yeah, Karthik's back. Hey, answer the question.
Okay, Karthik, if the technical
Yeah, hi.
issues resolved, yeah, okay. Go on, go on.
So yeah, I'm really sorry. There is lots of network drop in my area right now. So probably I'll just keep my camera turned off, bandwidth issues.
Karthik,
So,
no issues, no issues. You can go on. Yeah.
okay. So yeah, firstly, I'm really thankful for getting me into this session. I can just hardly imagine myself being in this position, conducting a Pi and AI event maybe around a year ago. So it's really nice to like inspire students who are eager and like very willing to get into the field of AI. Although my experience doesn't match up to what Smriti and Anudeep have right now, but uh, as a student who has been into this COVID phase, who is eager to get into AI and who is looking out for more opportunities, probably I can give some insights in that. So yeah, so firstly, I think as far as what we have been seeing the trend, what's running around in the campuses and the discussion about among the colleges, I think they are focusing like in order to get into good opportunities and people looking and getting impressed from your resume. I think your resume should have uh, like good amount of performance measure. As such, it should show some good performance as such in either some prestigious hackathons such as uh, uh, maybe Imagine Cup or something like Smart India hackathons. So that's where I think the recruiters might be able to uh, see your ability in able to develop a full end like end-to-end complete solution. So that's my one input. And also so as I've recently been into this like I haven't had many like or probably I have had only one experience with an interview with AI. And so prior to having this interview, I've always been confused what see, AI is such a vast field. What are the questions the interviewer is going to ask, and I was always confused about this. And so when I sat for this telephone interview for TCS research internship, so that's where I think as Smriti said, attitude comes into a very, it plays a very important role of your attitude to like to be ready to learn, to be ready to work with a like-minded team, and also to constantly like never put a limit to yourself, right? So you need to keep exploring yourself. Each person has a different dimension, so keep exploring yourself. So I think to sum it up, uh, show some like I think you have to put out more performance thing on your resume, where you show that yes, I am capable of developing an end-to-end solution, and I can in fact work with a good team and achieve to great heights. And second thing is a positive attitude that yeah, no matter what is the situation, I am because it's impossible for a person to know everything. So even whether it's in an interview or whether you start learning. So I probably in the next coming questions I would be able to describe that. But your ability to learn will be we should be able to impress the recruiter.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Karthik. Even I am myself making the notes of all the points I'm getting from this session. So moving on to the next question which I want to ask is that other than the core and technical skills, what is that you think is more important for those who want to make a career in this domain of artificial intelligence to be able to contribute meaningfully to a project? And what are the roles in the development of a project or a project model? And it would be great if you all can discuss some of your projects too. So let's start this question with Anudeep. Over to you, Anudeep.
Okay. Answering your first question, what all that you need apart from core technical skills is one thing is communication skills for sure, because um, when you get the output from a machine learning model or a neural network, you should be able to say what it means, right? You should be able to go back to the manager and say, you see, by analyzing the data, this is what I understood. This is what it says, one thing, or this is what is going to happen tomorrow, right? So communication skills is very, very important. The way you read the insights that are coming out from the models are important. Second thing is mathematics and statistics. We all tend to ignore it because we thought, let me use it, इतना ही काफी है, मतलब you read till 12th, it's enough. M1, that's it, done. M2, done. So it's not like that, basically. So your machine learning models, what exactly is a machine learning algorithm is nothing but it is a mathematical appropriation or approximation to what you are sending in, and it tries to approximate and tell you what would happen next, right? So when that is the case, people expect you to be a knowledgeable person in terms of statistics. So if you have time, I would say spend time on the linear algorithms and um, the statistical probabilities and stuff, where you get a thorough understanding on how probabilities work, right? What is your next part of the question about the projects, right? So see, projects. There are so many roles that involves to bring out a AI product, let me tell you. So one thing is the experienced people become the AI leaders. They own the products, product leaders. So AI remains at the core, which means it's just about data. You manipulate the data and play with that. That is AI. Around that, you have to build a whole software package so that you can use it, right? So it needs a full stack developer, a front end developer, or a back end developer, along with the AI engineer or data scientist. So it needs a business analyst who can help us with what kind of tools we can use for to solve this business problem. If you ask me some real time things, if you like projects which we do, basically we take out the client data which they give us, we try to build a model to help them in getting profits by understanding their functional requirements. For example, if suppose client is having lots of products that he is manufacturing and selling, basically it's a supply chain problem. So how much amount of ice cream should he manufacture so that its sales would be good enough and he gets profit? So how many ice creams we can sell in winter season? We can't sell much when compared to summer season, right? So you need to what we are doing is we are trying to predict the demand that we're gonna get in a particular season. So these are the kind of projects that we do in a real-time scenario. But if someone is not able to visualize, right, just look at your Netflix, man. It does the recommendation system. Just look at your Instagram, Facebook. It does a lot of computer vision. I hope everyone must have seen the social dilemma in Netflix. You touch a post, you look at a post for some time, that's it. You wanna get advertisements regarding that, right? So the I mean AI is into our lives already. We are not just realizing. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Anudeep. Now I'd like to hand over the same to Smriti.
Yeah, so when it comes to AI, I think you need a lot of soft skills, like a lot of them. So you need, first of all, communication, as Anudeep Shri mentioned. So communication is extremely important. You have to talk to people who are non-technical, and you have to explain that. First of all, you have to understand what the requirement is, and for that itself, you have to, like, and they don't talk the AI lingo. So I actually put a post on LinkedIn about it a few days back, why communication is so important in the field of data science and AI. So they won't speak the same lingo as is AI engineers too. So you need to be that good at it that you understand the layman terms. And you can explain it to them back in layman terms after you have achieved the results. So it's very important to like have the ability to communicate with people. The other thing is curiosity, because you have to like have this ever learning attitude, which I also mentioned in the first question. The third would be analytical or critical thinking skills, because obviously I don't need to explain that. Then it's extremely important to be able to work in a team. Teamwork is very important because, as also Anudeep Shri mentioned, you will be working with like a lot of different people, and that's obvious, right? Like anywhere you work with a lot of different people, so you need to have that attitude, and that you can and you will work with people. Also, I actually disagree with one point that he mentioned, which was that the AI, the senior people or the leaders, like the senior people, they become the leaders. That's not true. Like that may not be the case. You never know. I graduated in 2019 from my undergrad. So, and I have like 8 people in my team, and one of them is like 70 years old. So, that's pretty, like that doesn't depend on how senior you are, or that doesn't depend on anything. That depends on how you conduct yourself and the work that you've done. And sometimes sometimes not even that, probably. Like when I applied for this job, I just like wrote to those people that, hey, I see your model is 85% accurate, hire me and I'll make it 95. And they hired me. And now we have a patent pending for that. So yeah, that's how it happened. So another thing is that I think statistics and maths are a core skill for machine learning. You cannot neglect it. If you do, then you'll be stuck at your work, definitely. So it needs to be extremely like you cannot neglect it. I can't stress enough. And the second part of your question was real-time projects. So yeah, he explained it pretty well. It's everywhere. We do realize it. We do know it. Like it's there on YouTube. It's there on Netflix. The recommendation systems. Actually, H&M told me this very interesting use case that they work on, which is that they are working on building a machine learning algorithm that using which they can predict where in store should they place a particular type of like clothing item, so that it gets the most attention and people look like yeah. So that's an interesting use case that they are working on. And also they had like had a lot more supply than demand. So they're working on like decreasing that. So that's two things they are working on. And when I was what I do at, okay, maybe not Earth Bank, because I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say that. So what I did at this other project where I was a data scientist, and I'm still writing a paper with them. So we worked on this project to save Switzerland government's money. So although they're rich, but still. So yeah, so the project was to predict shoulder arthroplasty, like if the person should be operated on or not if they have a shoulder injury. So basically, you're asked like 2 questions by the doctor, using which you get like some sane score, and then you have like it should increase by at least 17 points. That in healthcare terms means that it has achieved the minimum amount of improvement that it should happen. So using like very minimal data, and especially when it comes to healthcare, data is like a rare scarcity. You do not have data that's like well populated. So even though I got a data set which had like 6,000 columns, when you removed all the all the rows with all the rows which had null columns, I just ended up with 400 rows. So, and the gap was more than 20%. So I could not like augment anything, especially when it's that sensitive, which is like healthcare, right? Because people's lives depend on it. And also another thing is that for the American Federation to um, accept your methodology, it needs to be at least 90% accurate, the model itself. So it's very difficult to work in those terms. So yeah, it's like that's also something that happens. So basically I would say that finding data is the most like rare thing. Even when I work with satellite images, like I cry for data every single day. I'm like, get me the data, but it never happens. You always end up working with some scraped out data. Like, that's not, it's not from the angle of what Anudeep Shri works, because he is usually supplied, if they work in like a corporate, they're usually supplied with, I think, data and they don't have to worry about it. But what I work on is like, I personally, like to work on something more dynamic and like different every day. So, I do like a lot of small projects also other than my day job. So right now I'm working at 4 places. So yeah, so like when you work on these small projects, like that's the problem. So yeah, data.
Okay, that was really insightful. So now, Karthik, I'd like to hand over the mic to you.
Yes. So I think I have to just summarize on what Smriti and Anudeep have told. It seems like probably from a student's perspective, I'll put it to whatever important points they have added. So, how does a regular like nowadays whoever is starting into AI, how do they start their learning? They look into Andrew Ng's course and they just learn what is this term, what is that term, and probably they get bored at the end because Andrew speaks more about like gives better deep insights on what we think is not important. So that's the first point. So I'll keep correlating with what I've been doing since the last few months on research aspect at least. So recently, when I've been working with like we have like my team has like had been working with a professor from Mayo Clinic on COVID data. So as such, not specifying into what the problem statement is, but so when it comes to learning medical, right? So first thing, when you step into field of AI, you need to be ready to explore into different domains, because AI is this one field like how electricity had like jumped into every industry, right? Back in the like revolution, whenever the electricity was first developed. So AI is this one single field where it is coming into every domain, every industry. And when you are looking forward to learning something in AI and doing good projects, you need to be open-minded to any domain. Especially when I was into health, I needed to look into more details into what is how does a CT scan work, right? How does a CT scanner work? Like what do you mean by a patient's like when you look at a CT image? What do you mean by those values representing the bone or the tissue? So all of these things increase your curiosity. So first thing, as Smriti said, you need to be curious to learn more. Like apart from just analyzing or learning what is supervised learning or what is unsupervised learning, you need to get more insights about your data. By looking at the data itself, many people have the skill of understanding it. Although it comes with experience, by looking at the data itself, you generally have the intuition that this works good for the model, this works good with this model, or you can try these and so on, or like these and these models with this. So that is one skill you need to acquire, especially. And coming to what Anudeep focused on, communication, obviously, again going back to the same project, when we students from India are interacting with a person from US who is more into a medical domain and he's analyzing your results, right? At the end of the day, he gives us a problem statement, or a particular client gives us a problem statement, and when we on our end we try to give them a solution, we need to be able to explain it to them such that they understand it. So what do you mean by getting a AUC score of something like this, something point like 90%, or what do you mean by getting like what is it? Like many people, especially in like when you're coming to segmentation, semantic segmentation, people tend to like like get confused between accuracy and the area of intersection. So all of these things you need, like as an AI practitioner, you need to get clear on what every single of these mean. Get more and like only when you get these insights, such that 90% doesn't mean that always doesn't mean that the model is doing really good. So you need to get such insights. And also the one of the lately realizing mistakes what I have also just recently started correcting is statistics. Obviously statistics and like all of these probabilistic models and all of this, as a BTech student or my colleagues whom I've been working with, all of us tend to ignore this. There are lots of memes which come up saying that like 90% of people just say that I've learned math, like machine learning, but when people ask what do you mean by something like what do you mean by mean versus standard deviation curves, okay, that's where many people tend to lose focus on, especially on the projects which I've been working lately. They're focusing more on such insights which give better like meaning of the results, right? So something like when we use tools like RStudio and Past and all of these, when you use such tools and analyze the output, like or even prior to passing such data to the model, you understand what is the intensity of the images as compared to like entire data set, all of these. So you all of this coming into the statistics part, you need to be clear of all of those points, and that's when you can get a better intuition of your data. And once you get a better intuition of data, you don't need to keep like making tweaks, like many drastic changes in the model. And that's how many people get stuck up at this point, where they do not have the skill of analyzing the data with the right statistics and right intuitive skills, and at the end they end up developing a model which, or developing a solution which is not satisfiable. Yeah, that's it from mine, I think.
That was very well explained. Thank you so much, Karthik. So moving on to the next question. I know that all of you have worked in small teams and in large mega teams, in both small and large organizations. So what, according to you, is the difference between working in-house at a company compared to a large MNC or a small individual project? So I'd like to Smriti take this question first.
Could you please repeat it? Your voice was breaking when you said that.
Okay, so am I audible now, Piyush?
Yeah, you're audible. I just couldn't.
Yeah. Okay, no issues. I'll just one more time repeat the question. So that I personally know that all of you have worked in small teams and in large mega teams, in both small and large organizations. So what, according to you, is the difference between working in-house at a company compared to a large MNC or a small individual project?
Yeah, so when you work in a, like a smaller company, you do a lot more than you're supposed to do, or a lot more than you signed up for. For example, like right now when I work in Earth Bank, which is a startup, sometimes I also work with, like, we have people who work with data collection, like, etc. But initially when I started, I had to work on like everything, like getting data using GIS, which is the Geographical Information System. So you get, like, you can download satellite images using that. So that, and then I even worked at a point on annotating images myself. So, like, you end up doing basically a lot more. I have worked with sales also, to be honest, with Earth Bank, like in the beginning. And like when I worked with like a comparatively bigger enterprise, it's like a lot more than my role is just nada, okay, I just do this. And, like it's like a sign, like I am supposed to do this and I will do this. Like people do the analysis before me and they send me some part that I have to analyze, and then I do the same analysis that I'm supposed to do, and then like it gets passed on to the other person. So that's a difference, and I actually prefer like the more rigorous, like working 16 hours a day lifestyle. So yeah, uh, so yeah, and yeah, it could basically vary. In my opinion, you learn a lot faster, like when you work in a smaller enterprise where you have to work with, like less number of people, and you have to do a lot more than you were assigned. In that case, you learn so much more faster, and that's something that I really love about it. When I was working at KTH, and KTH is like the best university in Sweden for technical subjects. So when I was working at KTH, I was working on this project where I was working on developing this model to predict why people lose memory and like how overlapping occurs in the brain. So the analysis was for amnesia and dementia patients. So is at that point I was working with PhD students. So it was like 4 PhD students. I was doing my bachelor's thesis there, and later I continued as a researcher for 10 more months. So I worked there for almost 1.5 years. My part was defined, like the PhD researcher would do this, and then they would send me the model to do some noise analysis, like try with different types of like noise removal, etc. And then it gets passed on to some other PhD researcher who does something else. So that's how it was there. And again, when I was working in IASC, it was pretty like, I do this, the other person does that sort of thing, which is not the same case with startups. And also in a startup or in a smaller company, you can be a lot more vocal about, like your thoughts, your ideas, as compared to a bigger enterprise. And people like obviously if it's a limited number of people, they would like listen, and you're the face of what you do. So that's a difference, very significant difference for me. So, because when we worked on this project at Earth Bank, when we filed the patent, I was the first person, like, in the patent. And I also gave a lecture to Stanford University students because they were gonna file the patent on our behalf as a project course of theirs. So, like you get a lot more exposure. Like I have spoken to the Prime Minister of Sweden. I have spoken to a lot more ministers in like the entire Nordics, and I have spoken to the government, like a lot of people from the government of Australia. So you get to be the face of what you do, and you get a lot more exposure than in a bigger enterprise. And people give you credits for that. People know you. So that's something that has been significant for me, because I, after some time, want to have start my own startup, which focuses on mental health, suicide prevention using deep learning, like mostly RN, and sort of something else comes up later, we'll see. So I'll learn that and work on that. So so I have already spoken to Avicii Mental Health Foundation, the Tim Bergling Foundation, which recently renamed the Ericsson Globe to Avicii Arena to prevent suicides in young adults, because there are 800,000 men who commit suicide every year. So that's what I want to work towards. So I've already spoken to them, and once I have the funding enough to start something with them, I'll work on some advanced neuroscience tools with them. Don't steal my idea, anyone. No. So so it's about that. You get to learn so much, and for me that's the goal. So for me it's it works perfectly, and those are the differences. And I think Anudeep, she could probably shed more light on the other side, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So since you had told the smaller organization part, I'll talk about the larger organization part. So how it feels to work in larger organizations where the colleagues are of more than half of your age already, elder, okay, and there's a lot of hierarchy that will be involved. There's a lot of I'll tell you one scenario. I was working with a healthcare client, and I just wanted to I just wanted to explore Azure portal, Microsoft Azure Cloud. So I just typed azure.com on the portal and I entered. I clicked on enter. There was a huge red screen that had appeared. You are accessing something out of the client URLs. You need permission. Okay, fine. There's nothing wrong in exploring Azure, right? I'm not importing data. So I said I typed an email to the PMO staff who will be there. So there's something called PMO like office who maintain these aspects. So I said, see, I just wanted to explore. There's something called cloud that had come into the market. I wanted to explore portal.azure.com. They said you have to mail to the senior director of healthcare, to the person who recruited me, HR, to the senior director of my other horizontal department. So there were so many list of people whom I have to mail just to access one normal URL. So that's how it looks. That's how controlled it is, right? And also your visibility will be shunned, right? You will not have much visibility in the larger organizations unless and until your manager is open to it. So one of my, I'll just give one last example on this and I'll leave it here. So one of my team members, I handle a team of 11, and there's a fresher who had come out and joined us. He's from NIT. So there was one complex requirement that happened, and we were all breaking our heads on how to solve it. And this guy came up to me and said, "Sir, give me 2 days, I'll solve it." This guy is an unconventional guy, as in he doesn't come on time and doesn't sit at one place. He roams around in the whole company. Like, are you kidding me? I'm very frustrated. Satyam, his name is Satyam. So I said, don't do that. After 2 days, he came back with the complete solution while we are all still breaking our heads. And I was amazed, and I was trying to find a chance to give some appreciation to him, and I was not getting that chance in any meetings and stuff, right? So that's what, even if you wanted to give light to those such people who are performing very well, the recognition part is not very good in the larger organizations. While these are the cons, there are so many pros, good offices, good food, good canteens, yeah. But only thing is, the balance of age. You can't find people like you so much in larger organizations. So yeah, I mean, it's priority, man. See, I worked in a startup and I moved into Capgemini because I just want a place where canteen is there because I can't cook. So it's all about priorities, one thing. And yeah, if any one of you are getting a good chance in a company which is very large, and you take it up, and don't think that learning is ending there. You use your time as how nicely Smriti is using, right? She's doing her day job and doing other projects like that. There's always a way for those who wants to do something good. Yeah. So that's the input from me.
Okay, thank you so much, Anudeep. Now the same question I'd like to hand over to Karthik.
Yes. So I think that was a lot of learning for me too regarding this question. But yeah, so not having much experience though to answer a complete aspect of this question, but like recently when I joined TCS, and before that the couple of 4 or 5 projects what I've worked. So the prior 4 or 5 projects that I've worked with my own team, or a team with one professor and 2 students or something like that, was a place where you suggest more and more changes, and you come up with more ideas, and you although there might not be any existing solution right now, you tend to research more on the on the available portals, and you try to do that. And so not saying that in the corporate I'm not getting the chance, because I've just recently, it's been I think 1 month, approximately 1 month working with TCS. But I do not know how it is outside the research, because I'm a research intern. I do not know how it's just as an AI intern. But when it comes to a research intern, where I'm again in the same position, where I have 2 leads and I am a single research student working on a single project, so I'm able to I'm getting a greater experience. In fact, when I'm working with people double of my age, where I like, and obviously I initially you feel it little awkward to call a person who's double your age by their name. I'm still getting used to it though, but yeah. So I'm like, when I look at such researchers who have been working with very good problem statements, I'm actually having a like great time working with TCS. Like, apart from the last 1.5 weeks where I've not been well, but yeah, it's been a really good time. Yeah, I faced problem what Anudeep has like earlier mentioned about visiting portals, like of what you want to explore on a company asset or your asset. But yeah, um, apart from that, you get to learn a lot from again, I'm saying this from a research view. I do not have the experience to say how it is from a normal position of a AI engineer or something like that. But it hasn't made much of a difference for me, because again, I just have two or three people who are guiding me, and I'm the one who is formulating the ideas, and I'm the one who is coming up with insights of what we can do next. And so that is helping me either in my earlier projects or in this project. It has been equal. So yeah, nothing as far as any bias or something like that.
Okay, so that was all. That was really insightful about all points you have kept. So moving on to the next and last question, and then we'll be moving towards the question round from the audience. So my last question to you all is that, as developers, we are always inclined to look into every aspect of our projects and fuss over the smaller details, and sometimes at the cost of missing the deadlines. So how have you all managed the balance? It will be good to hear your examples on the same. So let me start this with Anudeep. Yeah.
Simple, extend the deadline. You ask for extension. So yeah, jokes apart. See, smaller details, as in it depends, right? When when your code is ready, but you just wanted to do the last minute optimization stuff, yeah, you can just pass it on to the, testing phase, and then you can still do the optimization part and commit your code. Okay. But when it comes to this, when you talk about a pipeline, I think you will not have that luxury of leaving things aside. Again, the functionality wise, you can't leave anything before pushing to other next stage, like testing or user acceptability testing or anything. So what would I do is that, see, there is when we develop, right, when we develop certain things, we develop them in a production perspective. So if this goes live, how does it should behave, be a pipeline of data or whatever it is. So what I would do is I would write the main functionality, and if time is, so ours is an agile project, so in 1 week you need to develop that pipeline, and we need to deliver them. So what will I do is to develop the main functionality, push it to testing, and once it is in testing phase, we develop the delta functionality, which means every day when the data comes, it should take in only that data that it did not process, right? So such kind of audit logging and stuff that we add it when testing is happening, and we push it into UAT, and in UAT the complete functionality finishes up. So that way we are not missing the deadlines, and we are.
It's like very easily. So that's 3 days, 2-3 hours every day. So
Okay, so Karthik, if you
Yeah,
like to add.
continuing from where Smriti left, I think I'm the her type too, where like, since I've been into TCS release, so it's like, like, frankly speaking, initially I do not know how to approach. We think that the deadline means people are not going to accept for any reason that you haven't completed the work, and they're going to scold you or something like that. scold you or something like that. But that's not how it comes into corporate or any of the work environment. So if you feel that your work has a genuine reason for delay, I think you could push it. But as I haven't experienced that, I try to somehow, by the day of the presentation of the review, I try to have my results ready, and be it whatever, missing sleep or whatever, work till 2 3 or whatever, I especially, like, because I'm still getting in, and I think probably putting a few hours of work now could help me out in a later stage. So yeah, so I generally tend to finish up the work, and rather than trying to reschedule.
But guys, do not be like that. Do not
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah, exactly. So I was
That's
about to
that's
say that.
that's what is terribly wrong with Indians. No, you go to American, you see the European and American culture. They don't even give a damn to the manager. They say deadline is tomorrow, so what? It's already 5. Bye. That's what they do.
Well,
But we Indians,
that's
no.
not the case everywhere, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just telling that's
It's a
how people
stereotype.
are.
That's
That
a
is the
stereotype.
other side of the extreme. So you should neither be that extreme or this extreme.
That's a stereotype. But this what I'm doing is my choice. It's like, for some reason I was bored one day and I decided to start my own website, and I did that like a month and a half back. And then 2 weeks back I decided to start a YouTube channel, and I did that. And now somehow everything's important to me, and I put time to everything. And then yeah, so and then I work on 4 projects, and I do something else also, which I can't remember right now. Yeah, and I'm doing like a lot of talks. Like one of the interviews came out today. Like I have 5 events this week. So yes, that takes a lot of your time. So yeah, but that's what I want to do. Like, like I'm 23 now, and I wanna do something nice before I die. That's important.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
adding to
okay.
Smriti, you need to like seriously take care of your health side by side. Meeting deadlines doesn't mean you give up whatever you have, or your energy. And so, like, my closest example, what I can say is, by just 1.5 weeks before, like, what I've fallen ill just recently, I've like as I said, my sister was feeding me literally almost every session, and that was where I've lost so much of immunity that immediately I got tested positive. So I think health plays a very important role. You need to balance all of this, right?
Yes.
It doesn't mean you give up, you go to any extent that you try to meet the deadline. You can obviously, when you are working hard, your people will tend to recognize that and understand that they're not going to just simply say that why haven't you met the deadline or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the deadline. I'm just talking about what I took on
Acha.
myself. And it's like every week I try to organize a Q&A with me, which lasts for 2 hours. And then I don't have to do it, but I like to do it. And also I'm like
Right.
used to sleeping for 2-3 hours for like past 6 years. So it works fine with me. I felt sick when I got vaccinated though. That's when I felt sick for 4 days. And I don't work on Fridays. Like I don't work on Fridays. So I just work 4 days a week. Officially.
Okay, so that was such an insightful, magnificent, and a power-packed discussion on talk show. I should say. So actually, we're running a bit short of time, so we'll be taking only few questions. So the chat is open for the questions, and guys, if you would like to unmute yourself and would like to raise a question, you can raise your hand first, and then we'll unmute you, or you can simply ask them in the chat box. Yeah. So I think I have one question in the chat box. So how do you approach problems which have no data to start with? So if Smriti or Anudeep would like to, yeah.
You scrape the data, you get the data. You can't do anything without it. If you don't have data, you can't develop anything. It's as simple as that. You cry for the data, you do whatever you can, but you get the data.
Okay, so anyone else would like to query anything or would like to ask? You can also unmute yourselves.
So, yeah, I have a question. So the question is, the only AI whose hype among the students nowadays is mostly voice AI. So what are your views over this and all the other aspects of it?
If Anudeep could take this question.
Okay, voice AI as in your speech analytics you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is the exact question, Vaishnavi? You want me to throw some light on how it is being used in the industry, or what exactly are you trying to look
Yeah,
at?
yeah, this is the question. You're getting it right.
So, yeah, so what is happening is that, see, let's talk about companies that have customer support, right? So when they have customer support and they want to improve their support, like most of the servicing companies, their main financial income comes from, giving the customer support. Now, how do you rate a customer support company is by analyzing how they are performing, right? So how do you rate them? You'll have some thousands of calls happening over a month, right? So there is where you deploy AI machines. So now AI machines means we don't have to build anything new. We can just go to AWS and buy some product which they'll be selling us, right? We just have to subscribe, like how we subscribe to Amazon Prime. Like that, we subscribe and we input the particular call records to that, and it gives us
I think Anudeep, there is some technical issue. Okay, I guess Anudeep is facing some technical issues. So if
So maybe I can
Karthik or
continue with
yeah,
what. Oh yeah,
Anudeep,
he's back. He's back.
it's
sorry,
fine.
I lost power here. So
No,
uh,
no issues.
yeah, analyzing those calls, and whether there are any conflicts that are happening between the customer care consultant and the customer, all these are to be done. So that is one big area that I can see with respect to Indian market. What else we can see is that, see, it has several small applications, not industry scale applications, speech recognition and all that stuff. Those are always there, right? We all know. I hope you must have seen the old movie 2012, the end of the world. There you see a car, starting when the person says start, because it uses speech recognition, like that. So many things you could do with speech recognition stuff. But the major industrial stuff is what I spoke about.
Yeah, maybe something like of the recent pandemic, something like you open Apollo app and you see this like where it detects what's the risk of you having COVID, and it asks you one question where it asks you to cough 10 times, and based on that it analyzes your cough pattern, and it tells you what's the risk of you having. So this was first initially back in, I think, June, or last year June, I think IITians had come up with this where they do cough-based analysis and tell you if person has COVID or not. So yeah, lots of applications in every domain, I think.
Yeah. Also, I would like to add one more thing, which is I think a little different. So I came across this very interesting application where some researchers from MIT, I think, are working on basically 70% of people in US apparently have suffered through PTSD. So by speech and by detecting the emotions in the speech, they can detect like if a person is going through PTSD or not. Because earlier you were supposed to fill out a form, and in that form it's like super biased. You either underrate your emotions or you overrate your emotions. So when you detect it using this technology, it's a lot more precise, and it's a lot faster than the traditional diagnosis.
Okay, so one more last question we have in the chat from Nicole. Best advice for a biologist wanting to enter the computer science field.
See, bioinformatics is a very trending field where you need AI right now. You just think about COVID right now. You tell me, how do you get a drug for treating COVID? How is that? I mean, how was that done was the biologists have looked at the SARS virus, the flu virus, and all other related diseases, the drugs that are there. They had collected the data that of the drugs that are treating these diseases, and they tried to formulate something that would work. That's how this hydrochloroquine, have come up, and they tried and they thought it was working, and it was exported from India, and it did not work out well. But the major application is such thing, right? So bioinformatics is the field where AI is already there, and this is the field where AI will continue to bloom in that area, Nicole. So there's a huge requirement there.
Yeah, that's correct. Also, since I worked on computational neuroscience, um, there's like when you talk about mental health, because I saw that mental health was also part of that question. So when you talk about mental health and like computational neuroscience or computational biology, my ex-boyfriend was working like with Deep Chem. He was doing his masters at ETH. Now he's doing ETH Zurich. Now he's doing his PhD. So he was working with Deep Chem, like, and he worked on analyzing genes, and that was one of the projects to detect, like, if some of the like if a gene could be recessive or dominant in like particular generation. So that was like a very interesting application. And what I worked on was basically if machine learning or deep learning rather in my case. So I worked on recurrent neural networks because they have like temporal memory aspect. So if a deep learning sequence could be fed to, like, could recall, recollect, and then reproduce the same pattern. And we analyzed and we saw that we can basically. So yes, and in healthcare, like, it's extremely like changing every day. We have virtual bots now, and people actually find it more comfortable to talk to a virtual bot named Tess. It was done by the Northwestern University in US, and people find it a lot more comfortable to talk to that virtual bot as compared to a rather like a therapist. So it's a nice way to open up and like get the insights, and then that insight being analyzed by the therapist. Also, in a lot of countries, like, it's not like India, it's finding a therapist also is difficult. Like, in some states in US, you have to drive like 4 hours just to see a therapist, which is not like really feasible, plus the cost, which is so high. So there are like several applications, and there are like a lot of companies that you could look up to. There's one called I think Crown, or just connect with me on LinkedIn, Nicole. I'll send you the links. So they're super interesting to look at. And anxiety, empathy in AI, like, those are like, I'm doing a lot of self-study on those because I want to understand how human brain works, also how psychopaths think. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So do you think when Sophia has this emotion parameter affected into herself, so you would have come across Sophia, right? So do you think that's more of it related to AI, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I guess there are now no questions in the chat box, and we are now hereby concluding a very insightful session today.
Yeah, Kushagra, before you go, there was one
Yes.
question.
Yeah, definitely.
Nerd Coder, he was saying what could happen when our computer gets smarter than we are, and can we build AI without losing control over it?
Oh, I actually skipped that. Sorry.
Yeah, not a problem. So yeah, you can always control what you're creating, but you should not create something that goes off control. I hope you're getting my statement right. There's a key thing that what I stated, right? So you have already NLP AI where it is writing its own research paper. You have AI in place which writes its own code. You have a AI bot on Twitter which Microsoft experimented, which quickly learned the bias and racism and stuff, and it was thrown out of the Twitter. So So there's a difference. You have to be ethical when you're creating something, right? So you should never create something that goes out of control.
Yeah, so there are basically three types of AI, right? Weak AI, strong AI, and super strong AI. So right now, most of the AI that we come across is weak AI. So they don't tend to imitate human intelligence, and they know that they can't. So that's not their purpose. They can just do one task well, and that's like all they care about. If they want to lift the phone, they'll just lift the phone and not type anything in it. The second one is like strong AI, which is supposed to imitate the human mind, but that's also, like where people are building it, but it's not, like it's sort of still far away. So I wouldn't say that that's something we need to worry about at the moment. What the question is, because it's going to take a long time. I don't think we'll be alive by the time that happens. So yeah, we don't need to worry. But if you're worrying about your kids or something, if you're interested in having kids, then that's something they probably need to worry about. But also, as Anudeep Shri mentioned, AI ethics, which is like very important at the moment. So when you inculcate things like empathy, ethics, etc. in AI, it kind of like makes sure that it has an intuition like a human mind does, so that still there are bad people, right? So you can't guarantee or assure that it's always gonna be like it's always going to do the right thing, and there could be errors in coding that like a minor error could lead to a lot of changes. So there's no like proper guarantee, I would say, but it's highly likely that it's going to stay on the positive side. That's point one. And point two is probably it's going to take like hundreds of years. So yeah.
Okay, so Karthik, you would like
Actually,
to
I
add?
have one doubt to one. Actually, I have one question to Smriti and Anudeep. Actually, this was one question, and probably yeah, many of the students also would be having probably. So the question is that so AI is replacing lots of these repetitive jobs, right? So for suppose automated check-ins at airports. So you're seeing that there are automated check-ins coming in where people just show all of their like documents, and it's like they are auto checked in. So extending this, so there are lots of such jobs which are being replaced, and people are getting, probably they have like such of these like all of these menial jobs people lose, like there are no more jobs which are going to rise in such of these areas. So can you just throw some light on that, probably?
See, AI is something, it's not like computer science. AI is not computer science, isn't it? See, AI is something that will come into every field, like as you said, right? Like how electricity is everywhere. It is something like common sense that you want to add to your field. Look at Nicole when she said, I'm a biologist who wants to enter into this field, which means she wants to add some personalization and some kind of comfort into the biology field, right? To take the same example what you quoted, right, Karthik, where you have automated check-ins and stuff. At the end of the day, you would need a person to maintain that system, isn't it? So which means this person knows the domain knowledge of checking in the airport check-in system. He's that person. So the person who is currently there can learn AI and use that system. It's like, just one last analogy. So you have sweepers, now you have people who are driving a small vehicle and cleaning, right? That's it. Simple. So it is actually trying to, we are, the correct word is replacing the job. We are not taking away anything using AI.
Yeah, another way to look at it like could be that like when you work with AI, you actually generate more business, which in turn you generate more money, and then you scale up your business, which would obviously you have to hire more people then. And then again, with the rise of AI, we will have a lot of data by 2030, and like that amount of data would be like unimaginable, so you would need a lot of people to manage that data also. So yeah, it's like it'll actually create more jobs than like than the job, as compared to taking it away, because of a lot more reasons.
Yeah, thanks. That was insightful as such. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was really insightful. So now we have come to the end of this session and we are concluding this event today, which was very, I should say, very insightful because I myself was making notes about all the points that Anudeep and Smriti and Karthik brainstormed here in this event. So I personally would like to heartfully thank Anudeep, Smriti and Karthik for being here and taking out time from their, very busy schedules as they're in life professionals. So thank you so much, Anudeep, Smriti, and Karthik for being here and making this event a successful one. Thank you so much. And one thing I'd like to announce before the audience leaves is that we have sent a mail, which is a survey mail to all of you. You can fill out that mail and then you'll be receiving the promo codes or vouchers for the DeepLearning.AI courses which you want, whichever you want to pursue. You can keep an eye on a mail. I think they are sent and you all might have received it by now. And you'll all be getting e-certificates also soon, very soon. So thank you so much for being such a lovely audience. And yes, you all can leave now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Smriti. Thank you so much, Anudeep. Thank you so much, Karthik.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kushagra. It was very nice way that you organized this session. I thoroughly enjoyed. Nice meeting Smriti and Karthik and everyone here. We all can connect on LinkedIn and stay connected. Yeah. Wishing you all success, guys. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.